Section 1 of Weird Tales Double Feature, The Death Pit and In Cashless Garden by Lillian Schisgall. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Ben Tucker. The Death Pit, a novelette of grim tragedy. Chapter 1, Out of the Storm. A splotch of yellow light fell from the oil lamp to the flushed face of the boy. He writhed on the creaking bed and moaned while his features were distorted by the agony of fever. His eyes were fiercely closed. One shivering hand grasped the edge of the covers, and from his blistered lips came the harsh query, "Where's Pop? Where is he?" The sallow woman sitting at the bedside glanced around nervously. She hesitated, then her bony hand reached toward the boy's forehead and touched it with a soothing caress. She bent forward until her haggard face hung under the sickly light, until her thin, straggling hair dully reflected the yellow glow. Anguish lurked in her weary eyes as she gazed upon the boy, and she shook her head pityingly. "Where's Pop?" he repeated, raising his voice. His eyes opened, and he stared at her as though he dared the woman to answer. Desperately she tried to smile, but there was no mirth on the bony countenance. "He'll be home soon, Gil. He'll come, soon." "Where is he? I want him." "In a few minutes." "I want him. Call him, Ma. Why don't you call him?" Her tightly pressed lips forced back a sob, but she could not conceal the convulsive heave of her shoulders. Impulsively she rose, a tall, gaunt woman, as stiff and straight as a poplar. She turned away from the bed and moved off through the shadowy darkness of the room. Her clothes, heavy and voluminous, hung about her with ungainly looseness. Her hair was neglected, so that some of it strayed over her listless face. She brushed it away and went to the window. Rain pattered against the pane. Through the blackness outside, a steady wind sent its weird ululations. The woman shuddered. Somewhere in that miserable night was her husband. She did not know where. Peering through the streaming window, she could discern a lonely light far down the road, but that was all, no sign of her husband. It was almost midnight. He should have been home hours ago, but, well, it wouldn't help to worry about Timothy Cruz. Most probably he was in the village, as usual, wasting his time with the shiftless crowd at the store. A sneer twisted the woman's mouth as she walked back to the bed. She looked about the room, a pauper's room, furnished with a few broken chairs, a table which groaned with every weight placed upon it, an old-fashioned closet which might have retained a semblance of dignity, had it been standing on 4 legs instead of 3. And now, to make the poverty of the home even more keenly felt, 2 beds had been brought into the chamber. Those beds had been on the upper floor through the summer, but now with cold weather imminent, they had been carried down. It was foolish, Timothy explained, to heat 2 floors when the family could sleep downstairs. He had said foolish. What he actually meant was impossible. The Cruzes could not afford enough fuel for a whole house. A peculiar little laugh escaped the woman as she viewed the dismal chamber, large and square. The glow of the lamp near her son's bed served but to accentuate the bleakness of the other corners. Again she sat by the boy and stroked his forehead. She watched him writhe for a few moments, then said, "You ought to have a doctor, Gil. Soon as Pop comes home, we'll send for—" "Where's Pop?" The boy caught her hand in a frenzied, trembling grip. Deliriously he repeated, "Where's Pop? Where is he? I want him." "I don't know where he is, son. I never know." "Call him. Oh, Mom, please call him." The plaintive wail in his voice tortured her. She looked away, only to be mocked by the persistent splash of rain on the window. If only Timothy would come, it would be so much easier to sit with the fevered boy. But another hour dragged by before Timothy Cruz came home. She did not hear him as he approached the house. The wind drowned the sound of his steps, slewing through the mud. Her long bony fingers were lengthening the flickering wick of the lamp when she felt a gust of wind on her back. She looked around. Leaning against the closed door, her husband stood panting. Water dripped from his uncouth clothes, from his face, from his hands. He drew the soaked cap from his head and tossed it to a chair. And then she saw that he was smiling, a strange, malicious smile, a smile of triumph, almost a leer. His huge head was lowered as he began to pull off the baggy coat. In the dim luminosity of the oil lamp he appeared menacing. About him hovered an air that seemed unreal, fiendish. "How's the kid?" he asked gruffly. "Very bad, Tim. Worse than he was this morning. Fever's awful. Where have you been?" He ignored the question. Instead, he strode lumberingly across the room until he stood beside the bed. From his arms, powerful and dangling, water dripped to the covers. He studied his son's fiery face. "Looks bad," he grunted. "He was delirious before." "Delirious?" He squinted at his wife with suspicion, as if he doubted her report. "From what?" "I don't know, Tim," she answered wearily. "He just sort of raved about everything." He emitted a short guttural sound intended to express displeasure and concern. "His face is all red," he mumbled. "Bad fever, I guess." "Yes, bad fever. I want you to call Dr. Philemon." With a sudden start, Timothy Cruz turned savagely toward his wife. Even the shadows of the room could not hide the wild flames which had leapt to his narrow, swollen eyes. His chest heaved as he lowered his head close to her straggling hair. "Forget Philemon," he commanded, his voice strangely subdued. In surprise, she looked up. Crazy shadows played across her features as she demanded, "What do you mean, forget him? We need him. The boy needs him. I want you to go down to Drake's place where you can telephone." "No, we ain't going to get the doctor." "Ain't gonna get him?" Exasperation sprang into her tones, and she scowled. "You're talking like a fool, Tim. We've got to get him. Just look at Gil. Who knows what's wrong with the boy?" Tim raised his huge shoulders in a stubborn shrug. "I ain't going to call Philemon tonight. Nothing doing." Indignant and angered, the woman jumped up, faced him. She shook a finger under his nose and declared, "Look here, Tim Cruz. I stand a lot from you, but I ain't going to let the boy suffer on account of your thick-headedness. If you don't go out and get the doctor, I'll do it myself." A queer smile appeared on his heavy lips, the same malicious smile he had displayed when he entered the house. "None of us is going to call the doctor tonight. He's too excited to come out here in this weather." "Why?" She shot the word at him as a challenge. Cause I just came from the doctor's house." She frowned questioningly. "You just came from the doctor's?" "Yes." "What for? What were you doing there?" He laughed, harshly, curtly. His hand fell into his pocket, and from it he drew with great deliberation a glittering brooch and a studded wristwatch. From another pocket he extracted a thin packet of bills, $10 bills, and as he held them under the radiance of the oil lamp, he continued to laugh softly. "Look at 'em," he said, exulting. "Look at 'em, Agatha. Worth a couple $100, sure." The woman's eyes were round as she gaped upon the jewels. Her bony hand rose to suppress a gasp. Never before had she gazed upon such glittering, such alluring wealth. A brooch, a wristwatch, and money. Where'd you get that, Tim?" she whispered in awe. "I just told you, didn't I, that I came from the doctor's?" "The doctor's?" She glanced up in terror to encounter his triumphant leer. For an instant they stared into each other's eyes. Then she asked hushedly, "You mean you stole him?" "Just what I did, from that toy safe in his office." "Oh, Tim." Agatha Cruz shrank from her husband. Her ungainly form receded to a corner, and out of its darkness she directed a piercing, incredulous gaze at him. He stood tall and swaggering, a brute of a man, self-satisfaction beaming on his puffed features. "What's the matter?" he asked tauntingly. "How could you do a thing like that, Tim? Steal!" "How?" Contemptuously, he flung the jewels and the money to the table. His brows sank so that he glowered at her. "I'll tell you how. You needn't stand there like an angel looking into hell. Use your head and you'll see. We need money, don't we? What with winter coming and you wanting clothes for yourself and the kid, we need money, don't we? Sure. Have we got any of our own? No, we ain't. Stands to reason we got to get it somewhere." "But, Tim, stealing..." "Stealing is one way to get it, and I used that way. The farm didn't give us a cent this year, did it? No. Nobody around here made any money this year. Nobody except the doctor, because we had rotten weather. We had sickness instead of crops. and the doctor gets his money out of our misery. Look at his wife, buying wristwatches and brooches and diamonds and fancy dresses out of the money her husband sucks from us poor sick farmers. Is it right? It ain't. I didn't take much from him. Maybe the whole business here, including the cash, ain't worth more than $500. It'll tide us over to winter. What'll it mean to him, the doctor? Nothing. He strode ponderously to the window and glared out into the night. Trickling rivulets of rain traced their crooked courses on the pane, but he did not see them. He saw nothing. In defiance, he was awaiting his wife's answer. Agatha Cruz was eyeing the fortune on the table. Queer thoughts raced through her brain. New thoughts. Fearful thoughts. If those things could be sold for $500, it would mean a comfortable winter, proper attention to Gilbert, her suffering son. She glanced at the boy. He was leaning on one elbow, his eyes feasting themselves upon the display of wealth on the table. "Put your head down on the pillow, Gil," she ordered, and he obeyed, unexpectedly laughing with a wild joy. "We're rich now, ain't we, Mom?" he cried deliriously. She offered no reply. She considered rapidly. Then her low voice called, "Tim." Slowly the man looked around. "Were you seen? Anybody know you did it?" "No," he snapped brusquely. "Think I'm a fool? Of course nobody knows, except you and the kid. And you ain't gonna tell." Then as long as nobody knows, why don't you want to call the doctor?" "Call him?" He appeared amazed. His feet astride, he remained silent for an instant. He had expected his wife to preach a sermon on the evils of theft. Instead, she was still thinking of summoning the physician for Gilbert. "Yes," she said quietly. "The boy needs him. He'll get worse, maybe, if we don't call." "But, Agatha, do you want me to tempt the fates and everything by calling the doctor right after I've robbed him? He'll be so excited over finding a safe open he won't want to come anyway. Call him."
"A doctor always comes, Tim."
But... An inexplicable cowardice was gripping him. He did not wish to face the man whose home he had robbed. He was afraid of something intangible. "Say, Agatha, use your head. It's after midnight and it's raining cats and dogs. Dr. Philemon lives 4 miles from here. Why make him come out on a night like this?"
"Gil needs him,"
she insisted, calmly obdurate. "Gil can wait till tomorrow."
"He can't. I won't let him. The boy's terribly sick. He gets a doctor tonight."
"But 4 miles."
"You don't have to walk it. Go down the road to Drake's. That's only 1 mile. They'll let you telephone."
"Oh, look at that rain," he objected.
"Tim, if you don't go, I will. You fool, don't you see the boy needs a doctor? He's as red as fire. Who knows what's wrong with him?"
Still
nothing," she ejaculated, spitting the words at him. "You're afraid to meet the doctor, that's what. But I ain't. What's to prevent our hiding the things you took from him? What's to prevent our putting them where the doctor won't see them when he comes? They don't have to be on the table all night."
The realization that his wife was not condemning his theft, that she was actually making of herself an accomplice, stirred a peculiar emotion in Timothy Cruz. It is soothing to have one's sins shared by others. He experienced a surge of courage. He moved forward hesitantly. "You don't mean, Agatha?"
"I don't mean anything except that we need the doctor. And if you ain't going right now to phone him, I'll go myself."
"And the brooch and the money and the watch, what?"
"Hide him in the closet. He'll never guess you got him here, will he? He ain't a mind reader. Besides," she paused thoughtfully.
"What?"
"Oh, even if somebody saw you there, or thought they saw you, or somebody like you, I'm just supposing, Tim, then your calling the doctor here would sort of kill suspicion, see?"
Timothy Cruz did see. A shrewd appreciation of his wife manifested itself in a comprehending smile as he nodded. "You're right, Agatha."
"Are you going to call the doctor?"
she demanded. He lifted his drenched coat from a chair. "All right," he agreed. "I'll walk down to Drake's, and you hide the things, Agatha." And from the bed of Gilbert came a hysterical wail.
"Hide him in the closet, Mom. Hide him in the closet. We're rich now, ain't we?"
The boy ended his question with a hysterical, shrill laugh. End of section 1.